Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room YXE. Today is Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Crazy. Coming to you live from Saskatoon. I'm Leslie.
I'm Johnny.
What are you really?
We're going
You,
real slow.
am I going
Oh,
slow?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Okay, so welcome to the show. We're live. This is episode. Oh, we were going to stop saying what episode it was because no one really
That's
cares.
good. It's
It's
good to
episode
say.
number 20.
20. Ooh.
And we're live, but if you are watching the recorded version on YouTube, hello to you guys too. You can check out past No YXE or the Green Room YXE shows and No YXE shows on No YXE YouTube channel.
And Facebook too, right?
And Facebook.
And Facebook.
That's right. So I hope everybody had a great week. It's summer here. It's early in Saskatoon. We've had some, well, actually the last couple of days it's been a little cold and rainy, but yeah, we've had a good week. Johnny had a little bit of oral surgery today.
Yes.
So he is, but he's doing, how are you doing?
Really good.
He was really good when he came out of
How are you?
I'm good.
No, I'm you know what? It was kind of, I think it's like you're just getting a tooth pulled, buddy. What's the big deal?
Well, you didn't have one tooth, you had two teeth pulled
right.
and some other stuff going on in there.
Impacted wisdom teeth. It's like,
yeah, and then some tooth
white
on
bread.
top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so literally like 20 minutes.
Done.
Asleep, wake up in the recovery room. What happened?
Yeah. And you were
It's a little sore, but
yeah,
over-the-counter painkillers are doing nicely.
Yeah. So yeah, what else happened this week? So you're healing up. That's awesome. Yeah. And we shot a music video or the start of a we
start
did
of one.
It's
in the can.
It's in the can. Yes. It was beautiful that day. We had an awesome day in New Austin Park. So on to music news now. The Junos were last weekend. And speaking of the weekend, that's who won big time at the Junos 2021. Juno fan choice.
He was pretty grumpy about not being nominated for a Grammy, right? Is that what it was?
That's right. I think it was him.
Well, I hope that helps soften the blow there.
Yes. Juno fan choice was Shawn Mendes. Single of the year was The Weeknd for Blinding Lights. And international album of the year was Fine Lines by Harry Styles. Album of the year, After Hours, The Weeknd. Artist of the year, The Weeknd. Group of the year, Group of the year is Arkells. And also, we just want to give out a shout out to family because the music video of the year went to No One's in the Room by Jessie Reyes. And that's my sister-in-law and Johnny's sister, Sherry Sinclair's company, The Field. So she won, which is awesome. Anyhow, but congratulations to all the nominees, of course, and all the winners. Also in the news, watch out. Hackers are targeting Spotify and YouTube. They are promoting sites pretending to represent Spotify and YouTube Premium and other major digital players. One fake ad offers a non-existent bundle of 90 days free to both Spotify and YouTube Premium together. The hacker's goal is to steal credit cards and passwords saved in the user's web browser. So be careful out there.
That's why it's so safe on the streets at night.
Yeah.
Because all the bad guys are hackers now inside.
It's true. That would be
maybe
kind of nice, I think. Anyway, when you had kind of a little weird thing with Bell today too.
Yeah.
That's saying that they bought a phone.
That I got a new phone.
Yeah. Which you didn't. Anyways.
Buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Yeah.
Right?
So, what else is in the news? Springsteen is bringing back his one-man show back to Broadway. It's called Springsteen on Broadway. And it'll be playing this summer. He just announced this. It's part of the reopening of Broadway, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I guess the original show ran back in 2017 and it won a Tony Award. So it's part concert and part audio memoir, and it's based on Springsteen's autobiography, Born to Run. That'd be an awesome show to
Yeah.
go see in Broadway.
I've heard bits and pieces of it,
Oh,
and
really?
even some of the dialogue. It's good. It won an Emmy, right?
Well,
So
does he just tell stories, or is
so
there
kind of
actors and
I think
stuff?
it's his story.
Is he just on his own? Like, oh, it did say one
Mhm.
man show,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that'd be amazing. All right. This day in music history, 1978, the Rolling Stones released the album Some Girls. Awesome
I played the
album.
crap out of that
Oh
record.
my gosh, so did I. And I had the one with all of the people's
Yeah. The pullout.
the pull out with
Yeah.
people's faces. And I moved. It was back in the day where I would move from someplace and I left all my albums. I was like, whatever. I was in gypsy kind of mode,
Right.
whatever. Let it go. And now I'm upset about it. But anyway, 1986, Genesis released Invisible Touch, their most successful album.
And they're going to be touring.
That's right.
Yeah.
In 1992, Ben Vereen was nearly killed in an accident when he was struck by a car driven by producer David Foster. I remember hearing about this, but I don't remember
there's a
David
joke.
Foster hit him.
Yeah, and there was a joke about it, right? How do you get to Malibu?
How?
Take the PCH south until you hit Ben Vereen.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no. He's okay now though, right?
I don't know. Is he alive?
Okay, let's just move on. 1994, Lisa Left Eye Lopez from TLC set fire to her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend was Andre Rison of the Atlanta Falcons.
Rison?
Maybe.
No.
Maybe. 1998, the Ronettes appeared in court in New York City in their lawsuit versus producer Phil Spector. The case charged that the producer, his record label, breached a contract by not paying royalties.
That's unusual for her.
Yeah. Very funny. 2007, Rihanna's Umbrella reached #1 on Billboard charts. You say you don't remember that song?
I don't
remember
remember that song. I stopped listening to Rihanna after
Ella.
TLC.
Oh, okay.
Or the DC3.
It was a massive song too. Anyways, 2007 was the year after Julian, our son, was born, and maybe it was like that was our focus. We weren't listening to a lot of music then. Anyway, 2017, Gene Simmons of Kiss, get this, files a trademark application for the devil horns hand gesture, which he claims he invented in 1974. Like, is that true? Like,
no, I knew a guy next door who invented it in 73. Really?
I know. I thought that was kind of wacky. Yeah. Anyway, no one could probably prove him otherwise, too. Like, yeah, how? Like, unless you had a picture of some guy before then doing that. But anyway, let's move on. 1915, Les Paul was born. He was born Lester William Fuss. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. In Wisconsin. Les Paul was born on this day, 1915.
Yeah. Thank you, Les Paul.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thank you, Gibson Guitars.
Yes. 1963, Johnny Depp was born in Kentucky. And this I didn't know. I knew he played guitar, but he played guitar on tracks by the Oasis, by Patti Smith, and Ryan Adams. I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Don't you just wish some actors would just act?
Yes, I know.
I know people love people who love music and want to play music and stuff like that, but it seems better when a musician starts to be an actor.
It does. That does seem to be. It does seem to work better than the other way for some reason. I
love
don't
his
know
movies,
why.
but I just keep seeing him in a movie playing a guitar. That's what I think.
Yeah, I know. We need.
I don't think it's real.
This. Why is that? There must be some reason why they can't.
Maybe our guest will know if we ever get to talk to him.
Maybe our guest. Yes. Okay. We're so excited to bring out our next guest. He is a musician, songwriter, and leader of the awesome band The Nines. His songs have been included on network television series, including Dawson's Creek, Party of Five, and Joan of Arcadia. He also wrote the theme song for Global Television's comedy sitcom, The Jane Show. He has shared the stage with a diverse group of artists, including Ron Sexsmith, Vince Neil of Motley Crue, Supertramp's Roger Hodgson, the Jim Rose Sideshow, and the Bare Naked Ladies. He has worked with incredible songwriters, including Andy Partridge of XTC and Jason Faulkner, former member of the band Jellyfish and the Greys, and has had his music released in Japan. His latest album, Reflections, was released globally in 2020. And also, he's just a dear friend. So please welcome to the Green Room YXE, our dear friend, Steve Eggers.
Yay.
Hey,
Steve.
So good seeing you guys. Man, oh man, this is like a reunion.
It is. It
This is a
totally
virtual reunion.
Yeah.
It's a virtual reunion. Like, how long has it been since we saw you last like this? Like, I know we've texted and stuff like that, but actually just
I said this.
moving.
I just thought about this, and like literally it's been I want to say Julian was a baby when I saw you guys last, and I actually saw you because you mentioned Sherry. I saw you at one of those I think one of her parties in Toronto for one of her videos. So it was fun. It was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
On a rooftop.
That's how long it is. It's been a long time. And I know we've been, it's been tough, obviously, with the pandemic and everything else. But I think we tried to connect a little while ago, but it's great to see you guys now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Almost a couple of years ago. That's
right.
When we were in Burlington for a bit.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
I'm blown away. I feel like part of me feels like I could have, like I said, I could have a beer with you guys right now. It's just like I feel like I'm reacquainting myself with you live.
I know. It's like, oh, he moves like that. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And then when we get to see you, it'll be like, oh, he was way nicer on the show.
Yeah. He wasn't his real self. He was totally fake. He was totally fake. All the animosity comes there. I want to say something. I didn't know about that David Foster comment you said with Ben Vereen. That's a brand new level. I never knew that.
I didn't know that either. I was
like,
no. I heard that he like something about Ben Vereen being hit, and I knew that there was a joke about, but I didn't know it was David Foster that hit. I'm like,
no.
It was an accident, right?
He was driving a piano.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know how I missed that one. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. But yeah, like some of those and the Gene Simmons thing too. That was new to me too. I didn't. I missed all these facts that go. So
yeah, we can't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
No, that's $10 every time you do that.
sued for using the devil horns by the guy who owns the rights to the devil horns.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't even believe you do that. Like Gene is a pretty interesting guy. He's got a lot of chutzpah and ego and stuff. But I just laugh because that's taking it to the next level.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk because otherwise, I think people will get bored of us just guffawing around for an hour and a half.
I just love you guys. let's just love each other for the next.
We love you too, Steve. We love you. Okay, so like in case you don't know, we go way back to like the blue cassette.
Oh yeah.
We had Laura in the band and Billy in the band, and man, our van had a cassette player.
Oh yeah,
we listened to that album like nonstop.
Oh man, that's. I was gonna say, I think I heard your stuff too around the same time. Although I was a fan of, again, we're getting into the Mutual Appreciation Society, but I was a big fan of your first album, and then that's how I think we connected a little bit after that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So I remember back in the day, we were like blown away because was that a 4-track recording?
Yeah, the first thing we ever did was on one of those Tascam 4-tracks, and it's so funny because I keep hearing everybody I hear about or I talk to keep saying, "Oh man, I remember those 4-track cassette players," and it was kind of funny because I try to explain it to people now where technology is so easy to get and you can make a studio production so easily, but back then that was kind of the home recording unit on a budget back in the day. Yeah. But I did most of it on that. Yeah, most of it was done on a 4-track for sure.
yeah, and we were like, that is the best. No, sorry, Ian. You said Blue, but it's the Wonder World of Colorful. So
yeah, that was. Yeah. But I try to fool people because I think I did the 9 self-named album, the 6th album in. So yeah. Just to throw people.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that later because you probably got a lot of things that are going on with being thrown. Anyway, so yeah, we were blown away how great of a 4-track recording that was, because of course we used 4 tracks and stuff, and it was like, man, wow.
We wore that
tape right out.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice of you. It was a fun album to make because it was done at home, and it was really just a labor of love. That was kind of the intention of making the album. It was just, find a way to do it, and that was at the time the easiest way to do it was to do it on that type of budget. So we started that way.
Right.
And what year was that?
That would have been in 1995. We did the very first cassette, and it was funny because we really didn't have a live act. That's the funny part of it, is we started as musicians who were more used to doing projects and stuff like that. We weren't really a well-oiled live act at the time. So we started just doing recordings because I was writing songs, and it was just a means to an end. So that's how we kind of did it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it worked brilliantly. Which then we even did some dates together around that time. I remember we went to Buffalo and
yes, had a blast.
Yeah, and then some other small town Ontario. It was and it was like a kind of theater. Was it kind of like a?
Yeah, we played a few shows. I remember back then. I was trying to think how I connected with you guys because we played. I remember playing a few clubs in Toronto too. We played at the Ultrasound, I think, a few times with you when that club was around. That was kind of a cool place. We played Buffalo. That was a great show. That was an outdoor concert, I think, for one of the radio stations there. So that was a blast.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
Yeah. Good night. Good night. So then you move on from that. You do a 4-song EP with Polygram. Yeah. Was that the Polygram record?
Yeah, we did. It was funny. We did this. We were we were probably the most quirky type of band you could possibly get because we did the 4-track thing. We got some record company interest at the time. From that, which was great because we were kind of, I think, a little taken aback by that. Then we did get a demo deal with Polygram. So they put some money forward to do stuff. And that money we used to do actually Wonder World of Colorful, which was kind of like the cassette that you had that had some of the 4-track stuff on it. And then we just kind of did a bunch of songs that were in the Polygram sessions and put that all onto one album. And we were first on that album actually came out through Page Music, which was an indie label that was started by the Bare Naked Ladies guys that were trying to get something going, and their father and one of the other brothers. So they put that out, I think, through EMI. And that was our first kind of foray into, I guess, our second foray into quasi major distribution. And then we did a 4-song EP right after that with Universal Canada with Brian Heatherman. I don't know if you know Brian Heatherman, but he was the A&R guy then. But so we had little touches of that major label thing at the time.
And then you were like you were playing more live back then.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot more live, and
we learned.
Yeah.
We learned the key thing that you don't do, which we did, which I don't I to this day I'm shaking my head. We when we were first out there, we had this 4-song EP. Cassette tape, this little cassette tape that was going around the record labels. We played a show and we were naive. We didn't market it or anything. We just invited all these record company executives to a live show at one of the clubs in Toronto. And it was, of course, nobody's there. We didn't advertise it, and we're playing in front of record company guys. And I remember some guy at it probably was Universal at the time saying, that you guys were good and everything, but you may have wanted to market this to a crowd to give you, Canada isn't really like, I think in my mind, I was thinking I was like the Doors, and we were going to get out there and people were just going to see the lights.
Yeah.
So these are learnings that you get in your 20s.
Yeah, you're a youngster. You're a young guy, and
you don't know, right?
There's a guy who's probably got
right?
some wisdom. He's just going to tell you what it is, and it's just out of love you're doing it. And
that was it. We and in fact, this was the funniest part of it. Okay, like we literally, I think, had it catered too. Like we put money into catering it for these, and I, so everybody's eating the food. We're up on stage doing our numbers, and like, literally, like it was just like a major blow. I went out there, and one guy even said to me, "You've just basically kiboshed everything." But yeah, we ended up getting our live show together. And actually the Universal thing that came a few years after that was came from us being better live. We played at North by Northeast, which was kind of the South by Southwest for Canada, and as you guys know, and yeah, so Universal saw us there, and we got kind of a small deal with them, and it was fun.
Right. Yeah. So back then, though, you played primarily bass live.
Yes.
Now I get the feeling you're more comfortable sitting down behind the piano and playing and singing.
Yeah, that's the other learning. I could be doing a coaching session for all new bands on what not to do. But yeah. So I didn't really. I think when I played with you guys, I was playing bass. I still do. When we do shows, live shows, I'm a little better on bass than I was. But I think at the time you got to remember that this was mid '90s, early '90s. The grunge and a lot of the alternative stuff was happening at the time, and it was mostly guitar oriented stuff. And so we thought we had something in that. I wrote a lot of the songs on piano, and then we converted them to guitar, and we thought that was a cool scene. And I thought piano was a little, I don't know, piano never struck me as kind of a rock instrument. So I just started to gravitate to playing bass more.
Right.
Yeah. Were you a piano player first and foremost?
Oh yeah. I certainly wasn't a bass player. I actually, I think I picked up bass mostly because it was, and by the way, John, you're a great bassist. So, but for me, bass was something that I was able to pick up and just be efficient enough on for my own songs. So it worked out.
Well,
yeah, for sure. You just got to do what, you're just doing it. You got to do what you got to do. And lots of people talk about it and don't do it. You just always just went, okay, well, let's do this or let's do that, regardless of whether you think it's, again, for those young musicians out there, regardless of whether you think it's going to fail or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, as we all know, there's really no failure. You just learn from things as you go along. And if you love doing what you're doing, then you're doing it.
You're so right. Like, I think the one thing that I know doesn't work is when you're trying to cater to an audience. It always sounds a little bit like, to me, it always sounds really contrived. I think there's an instinctive thing that people, listeners, even if you're not a musician, you have an instinctive grasp when somebody has a passion for what they're doing, or there's an intuitive feeling that a listener has that, okay, yeah, they're authentic, right? As soon as you start to cater and do something that you think is better, it always sounds fake, right? It never sounds authentic.
Yeah.
And that is especially true in the world of like power pop, right? Like you get those power pop singers and their voice is not the best, but they're selling it. They're selling it. And I like to call that's that like unashamed
Yeah.
Sorry, this is what it is, you know.
Whatever. It's
Yeah.
cooler. It's actually it's
Yeah.
cooler. I always thought that that's the coolest part is if you it's even less around that your official technical talent on anything. It's more the vibe I think people get a feeling for.
Yeah.
And I've always done that. I've always done that. We've always had kind of a back-ass way of doing things where we're, you know, whether it was the 4-track thing. I did the 4-track thing because I thought that was the best versions of the songs. We used to go into we lucked out a lot. We got studio time. I've got my Pride fingernails, by the way, right now. I just thought,
oh, nice.
Nice. Nice.
My daughter did that for me. So
nice. Yeah.
But yeah, so I was going to say is that, yeah, we just kind of went with gut feel.
Right.
And that tends to come off better. It always does.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Well, we both, I guess we can't get over how much, especially in the earlier Nines albums, how much Paul McCartney you sound like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I love Sir Paul, right?
Oh,
I think he's like the sliced bread or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you, some of the stuff you just go, whoa, that was like a chill went down my back there. That's Steve, not Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I
must get that a bit, hey? Like,
yeah, I do. It's funny because I got that, and then the other thing I used to get was I got that. I got for the really power pop kind of people. You know, I used to get the Eric Carmen thing where there was a bit of that. We used to get the Raspberries. It was funny. My wife is not a big you know, huge rock aficionado, but she had heard the Raspberries the other day and she was saying, hey, do you know the Raspberries? And I was going, oh yeah, it sounds a bit like what you do. And I go, okay, yeah, that's a good one. I like those guys. But yeah, I grew up listening to you know, a lot of the same stuff that I think you guys did too. I listened to a lot of you know, rock stuff. I liked a lot of new wave music too. Like I liked a lot of mixed bag of tricks. I have a pretty big, but
I think that some of your influences though are kind of like, I hear XTC obviously in a lot of stuff as well in the songs, and ELO.
Yeah.
And some of the Bee Gees stuff you got going on in some of those songs is totally right on the mark there.
Yeah.
No.
I like all that stuff. I like all that stuff.
Brian Wilson too, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's all really.
It's hard not to. I think my problem is that, and I got to be careful with this because it just happens that it's like I'm trying to create the song that I want to hear, or you guys know how this is, right? Something you get inspired because you know, if you listen to a lot of music, you just can end up writing the stuff you'd want to hear if you were kind of in the radio, you know, in the car and you're listening to something. That's the stuff that registers. And a lot of the thing I always have to watch is that my ear is pretty attuned to that stuff. So when I get into kind of writing stuff, I really fall into the vibe of that whole thing. So I just have to be careful sometimes because you can slide on that tribute kind of stuff. And I've always thought that I've tried to stay clear of it, but you know, and sometimes I just don't care. I just go, well, it feels like this would feel the best, so I do it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. And the thing is the songs, you write amazing songs, so like it's never sounded tributey or you know what I mean? Or
no, it's not. It's
anything.
like
It's
what was we were listening
it's
to?
reminiscent. Like
and you said that sounds like that's like Queen in the beginning of a song or something like that.
But
like,
the song doesn't sound like a Queen song. It
right.
just sounds, you know what I mean? It's just reminiscent and it's just like, oh, it's awesome.
No, but it's awesome. It's just so awesome. You can put on any one of your records that I can find, which is another thing we should talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
You are.
Again, I'm like the worst marketer you could possibly have.
Yeah, right. Buffet or marketing? Buffet.
Yeah, buffet. Okay, let's just have a good food. Let's have food together.
Yeah.
The music is an afterthought. We'll just have a feast together. Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, you know, like we sorry, I just dropped my pen here. Not that I'm writing notes. I'm taking all these questions down. I'm doing an essay on this. But no, I think yeah, I mean the XTC thing too that you're mentioning, it has been helpful to some degree too, because it's you know, in some cases too, it opens up the audience to other people. Like, so it's an entry point for other people to hear your music. And to be honest with you, it's somewhat unintentional, because I didn't grow up listening to a lot of XTC. I listened to XTC, you know, when I was in college, but wasn't like a fan from the, you know, from the beginning type of thing. And I think sometimes it's also XTC also has some similar influences too. And I love XTC.
Right. Yeah,
don't get me
no,
wrong,
for sure. Yeah, but you actually wrote with Andy Partridge.
Yeah, that was yeah, that was great. Like, that was, again, that was a fluky thing too, because what happened with that was, I think we had gotten some they had fan sites and stuff like that, and I guess some of our albums started to leak into some of the fans, and the fans started to XTC fans who kind of knew, who also, a few of them started gravitating to some of our music, started to kind of talk it up a bit. And I think what happened was, you know, Andy's you know, for sure, one of the great songwriters out there. And his manager actually reached out, and initially we were thinking of him maybe producing an album, and I thought that would be really cool. And what it turned out to be was he was kind of interested. He had just started his own indie label. This was probably in 2005 or something like that, and he wanted to maybe look at us being on that label. And then we just ended up having a friendship and chatting back and forth, and then we just started writing together. So that was a blast.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Was it a Zoom writing session or in person?
We talked on the phone, really. I don't even know if I knew how to work Zoom.
Right. Sorry for asking.
Yeah. No. I figured out how to get on here, so I was very happy about that.
There's no Zoom back then, though.
No, I don't know. But we were on the phone a lot, and it was cool because he's a different type of guy. He's a very meticulous. I think it's like I think I have ADHD, so I think, like, I know I have ADHD, so I'm like all over the map. And he's a very meticulous person, and it was great because he told me. I mean, I was producing stuff at the time that I was running stuff by him, because I was saying, "Hey, what do you think?" And he'd be very frank and say, "Well, you know, you should put compression on this, and that sounds kind of not so good." And so he wasn't like you know, necessarily telling me only good things, but I learned a lot from him, and I think that was a great experience. And I still keep in touch with him, which is great.
Oh, that's amazing. Because I mean, we, you know, I guess from the stories of Todd and him, right?
Oh yeah.
Like them being kind of like this. I don't know why I have this impression that he would be tough to work with. I don't know why. I mean, he's an artist, and sometimes when artists come together with producers, they don't have the same vision. So.
I would say that Steve says he's a very meticulous person, and Todd was kind of like roll with it, kind of everything was
right.
You know,
that's
imagine.
the vibe I got.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of got from him too, and I kind of understand in a way. Like I you guys worked with Todd, so you know more about that. But I do know he's you know, just very meticulous about even sounds, like how to record guitar sounds, and he has a very set way that likes to do it, which is amazing. I mean, like you can hear it on his albums. That, you know, listen to an XTC album; they're flawless albums. They're very, you know, it's not like I never feel loosey goose with. It's not like a Todd Rundgren something anything album. You know, you're dealing with more meticulous but beautifully done albums. So I do think these guys just had a clash, you know.
Yeah, like early XTC's very angular kind of, almost, you know. Yeah,
Todd's more kind of fluid and flowy.
Yeah, well, he's from Philly, Soul, right? That's his upcoming, right?
Yeah,
the Nas, you know, stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Even his solo albums, I always thought with Todd's stuff, like although Todd got into the keyboards and kind of got more meticulous too, but I think so, because that's the impression I got, and I think also when you have two strong personalities, I think. You know, I was just happy to write with Andy, so it wasn't like for me, I wasn't saying, well, Andy, actually, I think let me correct you on that. You know, I wouldn't put that line in.
I was going to say, like, first of all, I think it's really cool that Andy would reach out to young artists and want to write like with them and collaborate. Like, I just think that's very smart.
Totally
really cool, smart to do, and I'm just curious to know, though. I mean, just you knowing him before you wrote with him, were you friggin' like nervous as hell? Like, how do you start that first writing session? Like, how does that happen? Like, what? You're just like, okay, do we jam out a couple of ideas? Like, I can't even imagine. Like, how was that? Just to paint that picture for us a little bit.
Okay, so this is what actually happened. Okay, like, and you got to understand. So I'm just like, I like to look at it like, you know, like, so I came. This is literally how I got the introduction with Andy. I came home one day and I had like groceries in my hand, and I was like, it was probably like not a great day. And I remember coming into the house and I heard the answering machine going. And I could hear a British guy on the answering machine. I thought it was the furnace.
You thought what? You thought what?
I thought it was the furnace guy. I thought I owed him money, and he was calling me, Mr. Eggers, you owe us, da-da-da-da-da. And so I just let it go. I just kind of said, forget it. Like, I'm not rushing. It's a bad day. I pushed the button, and it was just him. He just left me a message like, hey, Steve, it's Andy Partridge, listening to your music. I really like it. And I was floored because I think I saved the tape because, you know, like, in all honesty, you know, to me, he was definitely, you know, one of the, you know, living great songwriters. It's like if Nick Lowe called me or something, like, hey, come on over and start writing, or,
it's huge.
Yeah. So we just connected. I connected him on the phone, and then we chatted. It was more like friendly. Like, it was weird too, because I was talking to him and I kept feeling like it was like an interview. Like I felt like I was like, tell me about the Dukes of Stratosphere. Tell me a bit about
right. Yeah.
And
like, so like we're doing now.
yeah, it is. It's a bit like geeking out, right? Like you're trying not to be geeking out. You're trying to be cool person, but I'm pretty, you know, pretty open with my geeking out. So but anyway, so we just kind of chatted, and then eventually, you know, like you guys know, like you just kind of get to know people, and then it's just like anybody, right? Although it still was, when we had to start writing, I think what made it easier was what I did was I sent him ideas, so it was a little bit easier. So I sent him about 3 song ideas that I had that weren't done, or what I do a lot of the times, say they weren't done, but really just cut the chorus out and send it. Pick the best ones, and then you say, it's a great idea. Just threw this together casually. But, you know, it took me 4 days, 4 years to write it. But anyway, so but yeah, I heard nothing for a few while, and I thought, well, whatever happens, happens. And then he sent me a disc in the mail, and it was a completed version of one of the tunes, where he added all the instruments and you know, because I think I just sent him piano demos, and kind of looped it and cut it and put together this tune. And so that was the song we did called Receiving Me, which I later learned from big XTC fans. Are You Receiving Me is an XTC song, but I had no reference to that. I just threw the name out there. And then he kind of helped me with other lyrics where he kind of said, you know, you may want to think about this or that. And, you know, and I just kind of took that to heart. And in the demo, when we actually ended up recording that song, Receiving Me, I literally almost mimicked what he did in the demo and just added, you know, the band ended up playing the parts.
Yeah.
Hey, any good tips? I want to know, is there any good tips?
I just want to say that his song, Nine's song, Receiving Me, is awesome. Yes. I love that song.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. He did the chorus in that song. And so yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, I won't lie to you. I mean, I could say, well, you know, it's just a one-off, but it was a lot of fun. And then since then, yeah, for tips and things,
was there one thing that he told you that you were like, oh my God, that's like, wow,
gold?
Yeah,
or as you used to say back in the day, that's power.
Yeah, I still do, I think.
Yeah, he did. He said it when we first got on together.
Oh no,
yeah, and cool. I think I get royalties for that. So thanks for the 10 cents. But no, I think no, not really on the songwriting. He would. One thing that I did do a lot was I sent him a bunch of songs that I was going to put on this album that was called the album that we put his song on was an album called Calling Distant Stations. And I sent him a bunch of songs and he kind of vetted stuff. Yeah, that's the album. And he kind of vetted stuff and he was brutal. Like he would say, well, this song is boring. Don't put that one on. It was, you know, just crushing stuff.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it because you know, I kind of listened to it again. I go, yeah, you know what? It is boring. I kind of I was trying to push that one out there.
Right.
So he was more around critical around lyrics, which is something that you know, is a little bit more of you know, because I write music first and then 99% of the time I do the lyrics after. I just find that that's just the way my thinking is. But yeah, he also helped me a bit with production. So he was really good at saying, this is how I would, you know, produce this. I put this type of compression on this thing. So like little technical stuff that yeah, for sure I learned a lot from. Usually, I mean, you guys are probably like this. I mean, usually when I feel uncomfortable, or I mean, my knee jerk is always, and it was funny, even with Andy, I love Andy. I love him. And it was amazing. But I remember being kind of like defensive after, thinking, you know, I don't know about that. What is, you know, and then I'd have to go, wait a minute, you know, he might know more than I do. And I find, you know, anytime you kind of go through that discomfort, and it's usually because you're learning, right? And it's always good to embrace that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That's a great attitude to have.
It is.
I was a fan of XTC all the way through their whole career, and I got a chance to see XTC opening for the Police in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Oh my God, that would be a wicked show. They toured a lot together, though, right? The Police back then.
He was having a bad night. I think that it was one of that couldn't go on stage kind of things that he had for a while there. Yeah. And I feel for the man. I hope that he's over that. But he didn't come out and play. It was they played as a Three Police. They played mostly Colin Moulding songs and you know, the hit. So
yeah. Well, they were big. You know, what's funny is that they were big in Canada when they had that album, the one with making Drums and Wires. That album was really big here. Even like I think did better, I think, here than even in the U.S. But yeah, he's funny because I think he's actually, when he does play in front of an audience, he's very. I think he's a great player. The band was super tight from what I heard. But I do think even he said a little bit, it's the inertia of getting out there and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh man, I have a version of him live at a radio station in England. I don't know. I think it's him and Colin. I think they're playing Mayor of Simpleton, 2 acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's when I got into them. Like that.
Yeah.
See, I was probably, like I said, in college or university when I started listening to them. And my first thought with them was they were a cool band because they were very distinctly British. They had a distinct writing style. And they had all of those elements of that British psychedelia that I love that stuff. I mean, I love the British psychedelic stuff is amazing. And they kind of reshaped it.
Right.
I think where Andy and I were a little different was that we're different ages, right? So like I grew up more listening to, XTC, but outside of that, I listened to, the Police, Cheap Trick. I had a bit more of that Cheap Trick, the Knack, those kind of bands that were, a little bit more 70s, early 80s kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. Right on. Hey, we're going to do a quick commercial break for our sponsor, and when we come back after this, we gotta cram through your albums and talk about them a bit quickly.
Sure.
And talk about your new one that you got, and
sure.
why it's so hard to find the Nines photos, and why do different Nines bands show up on Spotify as the Nines? And I was like, those guys aren't the Nines.
Big lawsuits, man.
He was the Nines. He was the Nines. Look at what year was that? He was the Nines before they were the Nines. Anyways, we're going to do a quick commercial. So we'll
a little
right
bit
back.
of a shout out to our sponsor. Field Fox Gardens and Cookery is a food preparation and delivery service in Saskatoon. They are 100% gluten-free and organic and only use quality ingredients found close to home. Field Fox has just launched beef lasagna in 2 sizes. They are proud to partner with Saskatchewan beef producers in this carefully prepared classic meal that is delivered frozen for your convenience. In the coming days and weeks, the menu will grow to include more choices of frozen prepared meals to suit every lifestyle. Their products are soon to be featured at Saskmade Marketplace, which only sells the best local goods. So please visit fieldfox.ca to order your lasagna and sign up for the newsletter to be notified as the menu expands. Order that lasagna and give yourself a break.
And get on their email list.
Yes.
Very important to do.
And we are back.
Anyways, one last comment about Todd Rundgren and Andy Partridge. When Andy he said it was a difficult delivery, but a beautiful baby. He said that after about skylarking. So that was kind of
you guys recorded with him, I think, right after, like right around that last XTC, like the last thing he did with XTC, right?
It was right around there, yeah.
So you would be close to that.
Right after.
Yeah. So it'd be fresh wounds.
That's right. Yes. And when we went there, we could see all of the, what was it? The tapes lined up.
The 2-inch tapes.
Yeah.
In the bathroom.
All the different albums he had produced too, which were like, oh my gosh.
And classic albums too.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah. Classic.
I mean, the one he did with you guys was amazing. That TPOH album was great. For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I mean, he's a master for sure at producing.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about your releases in Japan.
Yes,
Grand Ducals Field.
Yeah, that came out. That was fun because again, a weird thing once again, and we released this first album. This album, Grand Ducals Field, back in, I think it was 2007. And that's when, I think it was that album. I also worked with Jason Faulkner, who was another, a lot of people wouldn't know this guy is, but, phenomenal player. I think Johnny, ironically, I think it was you who actually put me on to him initially because of the Grays album, which was, I think, one of the best albums, really underappreciated album. Great album.
Yeah, very underappreciated album. And saw the Grays downstairs at the Alma Combo, and you're like, they sound exactly as awesome as the record is. So
doesn't shock me. Doesn't shock me. Well, John Bryan was in that band too, right? And John's another great player. They had great players on that album. But yeah, so I got to kind of work with him, which was amazing too, because again, it all goes back to Johnny's mixtapes. So John, you know, you used to make these mixtapes that we used that back in the day when pre-playlists and stuff. And I learned about a bunch of new bands. And it was funny because that opened up my eyes to a completely, you know, you mentioned power pop as a concept. I didn't even know that term until I started hearing these people like Jason Faulkner, Jellyfish, all these other bands. So it was amazing. Yeah, I got to work with him too. And he told me, you know, I was kind of living vicariously through him too, because he had just been fresh working off Paul McCartney's Chaos and Creation album. So I listened to, you know, he told me stories about that too. Because at one point, I think he was talking about how they were both in the studio, just him and Paul. And he was talking about, you know, what strings did you use on your bass on, you know, or what mics did you use on McCartney 1 and all these kind of stuff, right? Because he was geeking out.
Yeah, right.
We all geek out. But anyway, he worked on that, and then what happened was we released that just independently. But then about a year ago, I got a call from one of the A&R, or I don't even know it was the A&R guy. I think it was one of the executives at Sony in Japan, who were they were looking at doing this release of bands that were inspired by the Beatles. And it was to go along with Abbey Road anniversary. So this was probably 2019, or it was like a year and a half ago. So how it happened was some of our albums independently were being released in Japan on an indie label that catered to that kind of music, power pop music in Japan. And Japan's always been a good place for us because just a lot of fans that like that kind of music. And so anyway, this independent label connected with the guy was a friend of this VP at Sony, and put him in, I guess, in touch with our music. And then they released it in Japan last year, just before the pandemic, actually.
Wow.
So that was exciting. Yeah. And we got to do different stuff on it too, because I always say we, but it's mostly me now. I think it's just because I have this fear of being a solo artist, so I just keep that 9 thing. It gives me a distance.
Yeah.
Totally.
But you, me, myself, and I guess. So it's
me, myself, and I. Yeah.
Three piece. Yeah.
My 3-piece now. But I could go on with so many jokes, but this is a family-oriented show. But yeah, so I was kind of psyched about that. And so they released that album along with a bunch of kind of like a best of. They took that album and then they added 10 more songs that were like chosen by them from our catalog to add to the album.
Yeah.
So I gotta get to Japan.
Did they issue it on Did they issue it on vinyl in Japan, or just
no,
CD,
not yet. Although we kind of signed off that they could release it, and it did pretty well actually. I was pretty excited about that because we, like I said, it's it's not like we're Rihanna, so it's not like they're talking to me and I'm kind of going through all this stuff with them, but no, it was just a CD. It was a CD. They did all new artwork. They did lyrics. It's funny when the translation of the lyrics is a bit interesting. I think I don't know if I've done this before. We had another album out in Japan on another label, and it was the same. They did a kind of a packaged version with all the lyrics and stuff. And sometimes the translation can be a little off.
Right.
But they did a great job. I wasn't going to complain. I was very happy with.
Yeah. So are you your own broker for this, or do you have management, or are you
Yeah, I'm my own broker now. I laugh because I thought maybe I should just create my own like sub identity online as David Jones, the manager of our band. But no, I brokered most of the stuff from the get go. We've had, I've gone through the management stuff and that, but right now I just broker it myself. It works out.
Yeah. Well, that's a great record. Is that probably your most successful release, or has there been ones that have done better?
Calling Distance Stations did well. We did pretty well. Like, it was good because how I discovered those two, Calling Distance Stations, Grand Ducals Field. We did an album right after Wonderworld, a Colorful, called Properties of Sound. That was cool because again, we kind of got some distribution in Japan for that one. But yeah, they've done well, but it's mostly been kind of word of mouth. I think what happens is that we attracted a bit of the XTC fan club. We got, people who like Beatles, like McCartney. We got some people who kind of hear that in it. We got, some good radio play on some of those albums in the States. I did go through, I think, kind of a different channel for that too, who promoted a lot of that stuff.
Okay. Hey, is that why, like, you're, call me lazy, but I
will call you lazy.
I like listening to Spotify when I'm in the car. It's Bluetoothing and listening to something. It's got to have a service, so I got Spotify. You have a very limited selection on there, as opposed to what your whole catalog is. Is there a reason? Is this now that some people you have shared rights to or something?
Yeah, we do. So part of it was, some of the early recordings were, obviously although it's funny that Sony one is on Spotify, which is weird. The Sony release of Grand Ducals, I don't know if the original one is, but yeah, I think at the time, it is a bit funky that way. Like, I know, Apple has all of our stuff. So Apple, most of the other streaming sites have it. But I know there was a couple scenarios where we had, just from indie releases that they just didn't put it on there. And so I'm getting most of my rights now from other deals. So outside of, the Sony thing, I can now do it. So I should get my stuff on the Spotify now.
Wow. Well,
thank you for that. I should get you as my management.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Because I was going to Bandcamp and listening to, there's more different stuff on Bandcamp as well.
Yeah, it is. It's not all of them on Bandcamp.
Yeah. So, but with Bandcamp, I don't know. Do you have this problem when you put the music on and you go to a different page? As soon as you click off Bandcamp, the music stops playing. Is it? Do I have to buy a premium for that, or is that?
Probably.
Or I should probably just pay. I should just buy.
Yeah, I think what the key to Bandcamp is, Johnny, is it's not a streaming service. I think you should be actually paying for that.
That's what I was just gonna say. Right? I should probably just buy it.
No, I mean, I like the streaming stuff though too. Like, I actually think it's a great channel. I think initially Spotify had a little bit of some negative press on the fact that they were kind of one of the lower payers at the time. But no, I find a lot of those channels are great because it kind of gets the music out there. But and that's how people kind of discover you and everything else. But we're very lucky. I've been very fortunate in that I have like a pretty loyal fan base that actually buys this stuff, and they buy it in physical form. They buy it in, they buy it more than stream it. So I'm lucky for that. Very lucky for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome that they do that. Okay. 9 Lives. I'm listening to the live version. I'm going, What? He made a live record too. It's because
Yeah, we did play live enough to make a record.
So did you record those all at one night, or was that a bunch of different?
No, John, that's probably got to be a collection just to get that live album out. That's probably got to be a collection of like, 5. It is actually a collection of several years, and it's all been pasted together. We played a show. I played a few different shows that were really cool shows. They were unique shows. We played in, I played at the Poor Alex Theater when it was around in Toronto. And it was like this little theater there, but it was a great show. And for some reason, I don't know why, they recorded, they had all this recording gear, and they had this big Tascam multi-track system behind stage, and they recorded the whole show. So I always had these masters from that show that I never really did anything with. Then some of it was from a show I did with in Michigan with these great songwriters, and I'll plug them because I think they're great. This guy Mike Viola, who's right. Great musician on his own.
That's Candy. That's not the Candy Butcher, is that?
Yeah, Candy Butchers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, you're an encyclopedia over there. But yeah, he's a great guy, and Andy Reid, who's this other guy who's again primo musician, great writers. And we did a show down in Bay City, Michigan, just outside of Detroit, where the Bay City Rollers got their name from. That's their claim to fame, at this beautiful theater. And it was we did 2 shows there actually, and we took a couple, I think, numbers from that. And then I did a show with an orchestra at just me. I did it. Well, it wasn't just me, but I was one of the guests, and we played at this really cool show with a full orchestra and I did about, I think, 4 or 5 songs, all orchestrated. And that was done, recorded with some really a great engineer and a great studio guy. So I had some material I could grab, and that's how we put that album out.
Right on. Because I'm listening to it and I'm going, oh, I'm not really sure I like live albums. And then I thought, why do I think I don't like live albums? I mean, it's a great record. It's great hearing you play those songs live. It was kind of like, wow, it's kind of.
You got to do one live album.
It's kind of like seeing Steve in my mind. Anyways, but then I was talking to Les about it. I said, like, there were so many great live albums from back in the day, right? Like that was the thing, was a live album was like something that everybody looked after.
Let me tell you this. I don't know if I want to give away the secret, but I'm working actually on this idea that we're going to be doing, which is like, and it was really cool because I thought about it during the pandemic mostly. Which is like a live album, and Bill Majoris yourself. So Bill and I have done some recording too. He's played on my stuff. I played on his stuff, and anyway, he's part of this thing too. We're gonna do this album that's like a live album, faux live, with a stadium crowd, and it's gonna be like the rockin' kind of Live at Budokan mixed with Kiss Kiss Alive 2, and you name it. It's and we'd like to do it as a double album, and it's literally like the band that maybe their van went off the cliff, but they released one classic live album. And, you got the fans going, and you've got like drum solos, and it's rocking. But it's conceptual. And that was kind of what we're kind of doing now. Because it's just a different way of doing a live album. And I just thought, I love those albums too. I can't get a stadium crowd, so I'll make
them. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. a lot of live albums in our times, for sure.
Oh yeah. Some of the best albums were live albums.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's not a lot of those now, and I think the difference is, and I mean it's funny because you're right. back, you look at the 70s, early 80s, and some of the best albums were those live albums, and they sounded better than the actual studio recording sometimes.
Yeah, well, like example, I think is David Bowie's Station to Station.
No, that's not live. David Live.
David Live.
Yeah.
David Live.
But the first song,
Station
the first song is
okay.
Station to Station on there, and that is just like how they did that. Like you just sit in front of the speakers. When Julian, our son, got his turntable all set up and everything, I was just like, okay, we just got to listen to this, and we just sat down in between the speakers and listened to it. It was just like, oh my god, this is so good.
I know. They're like you said. I mean, it's like I was a big fan of like Cheap Trick live at Budokan, right? Like, so that album to me was like a game changer for me. And I remember, those were examples of versions that sounded, because it's got the energy of the crowd, and
oh man, I used to put on Wings Over America from start side one right through to the 6th side, and listen to it all in one setting, and it was like I was there in my mind again. In my mind.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like maybe I'm amazed that version is completely different than say the McCartney version, and I love it. I mean, there's just so much of that, and that's a missing. It's almost like a missing thing now, because it was an era where there was a real communal feeling and you felt the energy of the crowd really shape how that music came out, and it's kind of a dying breed in some ways, because things are so polished. Now, if you take auto tune and you add, and they augmented the albums back then, but they really augment them now.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I thought it was appropriate to do this faux thing, because I thought it would be cool in a way that if you could make, I'm an unusual kind of person because I don't play live a lot, but I know what, it's funny. Let me just tell you something that I think you guys would find funny. The way I record is I record with the speakers on. So I record, sometimes I'll go and I'm not trying to get technical, but I'll record, most people record and they put their headphones on and they kind of hear what's happening. I like to record my parts with the stuff blasting at me. And then I try to feel loose. So you're playing like you're playing with a band.
Yeah.
And I started doing that actually on a few albums. The last few albums I did with Bill, because Bill would come over and we wanted to change the dynamic. So we would literally crank the speakers in the studio, the home studio I have here, and just have them go nuts, just record like you're playing it on stage.
Right.
And I like that. I just think there's a dynamic to that.
There is. And I think it is a lost art or something. I mean, I know there's artists out there that are doing it, but just as one example of a producer that and a songwriter that we won't name, and I think you actually know him, we can talk later, but anyway, he said he would do a session down in California, in LA. He would do a session and he would have a singer come, a young singer come in and sing, and she would do one take, and then they go, okay, well, are we going to do more? And she goes, no, just put that thingy on, that thingy that makes me sound, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like the auto tune, right? And he would just be like, oh my God, like what? This is what's going on nowadays. So
laziness.
Yeah. Well,
it's easy to fall into it too. It's easy to fall into it. It's like, especially if you grew up with recording as something that you had to constantly perfect your tape, because you guys know, I mean, when you were recording on tape, you'd have to go often redo a whole, especially on drums, you definitely have to do a whole session. Now I've gone through it too. I've gone to other studio sessions where someone goes, they just go in, do it for 5 seconds. Okay, I'm good. Just loop that part. Now I'll go to the next section.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of crazy. Like, I think you're missing out on something, aren't you? Are you losing out on the journey of the song and the
dynamic?
Dynamic.
Well, you would spend like sometimes countless hours on a guitar solo, and then they'd go in on the tape and they'd move the tape so they could get their eraser kind of thing, or do a little cut or something,
Yeah.
and then tape the tape back together, and
Yeah.
and then even waiting for like take two. And by then you're like, come on.
I know.
So now it's just like hit play, hit record, bang, you're going.
Yeah.
It's a lonelier. I think it's a lonelier. And don't get me wrong. There are people who still like the old school, going in there there's some great artists. I mean, I listen to Mac DeMarco and a few of these guys that are like new, somewhat new indie kind of younger guys, and they're using, like, it's funny. There's a real renaissance with old recording gear now with some of these 20-year-olds. Because especially in the kind of indie alternative market, they're rediscovering things like old pedals and tapes and all these old material, because I think there's a hands-on feeling to it, right? And there's a warmth. I know people always talk about the warmth of the old recordings and stuff, but you're right. I think, you said, Leslie, there's a journey in a song. And technology is an amazing thing, but it can also, if you fall into the trap of just speed and expediting things, you can lose a lot of that feel. You really can.
Yeah. But then on the other side of the coin, there's that using that technology to create music. Like people that don't necessarily always even play music, but know a bit about music, can make recordings, can create for themselves. Yeah. So I mean, as a creative form of creative expression, it's not limiting to someone who says, man, I've been playing the guitar for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So
well, then again,
I bought a computer yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's true. But then it gets back to, again, the artist and being authentic, and no matter what they're using,
the creative
it's
process, right?
Through.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you guys are right. I think it's funny because I've done it's like it's bizarre. I'm with you. I've never in my whole lifetime, I've never gone with, okay, I need to buy these microphones, because there's the other side where people will go, I will only use tube preamps. I will only use like this kind of board. I will only use this kind of authentic 60s or 70s amplifier, whatever. And I've never felt that way. I've always gone with and I'm sure you guys are the same. I always go with whatever sounds good, so long as the vibe is there. And that's a very intuitive thing. And I do think people can hear that. I was talking with my, even my daughter who's like 18, and I have another daughter that's 16, and a lot of these kids now, they're actually circumventing radio stations now that are playing a lot of, obviously the top 40 stuff is out there, and it's got its place and everything. But a lot of these kids now are circumventing it, and they're on things like TikTok and all these other different platforms, and they're discovering music that way, and it's all over the map. It's like, it's a bit of a hodgepodge. It's like, you'll hear Mr. Blue Sky by ELO, and then you'll hear, some other new band that maybe people don't know about. So they're really just going with feel. They're not even looking at era or timelines or anything. So it's a new time in music for sure.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true.
So I'm excited about it. I mean, I think you can do a lot of different things, and I think so long as you're passionate about what you do and you're authentic about what you do, people can see that.
Hey, quick! Let's talk about McKeon. I want to hear your story of McKeon. Yeah. It's your sort of synth pop record.
Yeah. So that was a blast to do because so this kind of goes back to when you were saying you did your thing on the 4-track initially, our first album. the reason why we weren't, yeah, that's me in New Jersey. Actually, we used to have a place in New Jersey as a kid. So I was at the Jersey coast. But yeah, so prior to being in a band, I grew up in the 80s. So, and I was a keyboard player. So I fell into that whole keyboard duo thing. And you know, Aaron Nielsen, who was, the first drummer in my band. He and I were a keyboard duo for years. So we loved that kind of music. I loved, you name it, you know, any of these kind of cool electro keyboard new wave bands from the 80s. So I just decided I had all this old gear. I had like, you know, old Roland Juno 60, all these keyboards that I had in my back room, and I pulled them all out and just decided, and actually got a Lindrum, which if you know, that's like an 80s relic now. But yeah, decided to do an album that was like kind of a new wave 80s keyboard thing. And the reason I called it McKeon is because there was an actor, this is funny, on the show in the 70s called Alice. The show Alice from the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
And the kid, I used to get compared to the kid, Alice's son, when I was younger, and his last name was McKeon. So I found this picture when I was into all this new wave stuff and just thought of that. So I thought, oh, I'll just call the band McKeon. And then he died. He sadly died. No word of a lie. He died, I think, 2 months after I released it. And then I felt like it was terrible jinx.
No.
Yeah.
Are you going to be putting any of this stuff on vinyl, or has there been a vinyl release of anything?
No, we have never done anything on vinyl. And that's actually one of the things I had talked even at one point with Jason Faulkner about. He doesn't have anything either on vinyl. And I was saying to him recently, like I talked to him probably about, we keep talking because I keep saying, oh, I want you to produce this album, because I really I think he's an amazing mixer and amazing producer. I really like his stuff. It always sounds a bit 70s. He's got this weird 70s stereo set feel to his mixes.
Yeah.
But anyway, going off track, there's my ADHD. I'm going all over the map here. Circling back, he hasn't and I haven't, but I want to. I'm looking at doing, we're looking at doing kind of almost like a greatest hits type of thing on vinyl as the first thing. And we're looking at doing that probably, we're hoping to do it at the end of this year.
Awesome.
That's cool. The goal. Yeah, we've got, we've definitely had enough requests for it. And I know, you know, it's something I don't know why we haven't. We just haven't done it. So it's time to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was one of our questions. What's coming up? So there you go.
Well, let's quickly Reflections, your latest release. Is that Steve Eggers, or is that the Nines?
It's the Nines, but it's the most me that you can get, because it's basically like guitar. Oh, it's a signed copy. Very signed copy.
Well,
yeah. It's So we did I did it mostly. It's all me. I played piano, guitar, bass, no drums. It was exactly as the title kind of you know, it implies. I did it over the pandemic, and I think my mood at the time was you know, you more reflective in that you're stuck in your house. I think a lot of people either go through divorces or rethink their lives during this period, because it's just such an unusual period globally, right? So for me, it was like an opportunity to, you know, not really think of doing it like, you know, power pop rock band type stuff. I just wanted to do songs. I'm actually the most comfortable just writing on a piano, like writing piano songs and writing guitar, you know, writing ballads mostly. you know, I used to laugh because even that album, like our first albums, were always me writing a piano song and then just saying, can we rockify all these songs? And that's why it always sounded weird, because I'm not writing on guitar. I'm writing chord changes that are more ballads. And then we just say, let's turn them on their head and just make them all heavy. And there's a weirdness to that. It sounds odd, but this album, I just wanted to go for a straight kind of songwriting album.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, why are there so many The Nines? I guess that'd be a super hard name to police. You'd have, because there's a ton of them. Something. Yeah.
So far, so there was a New York band, New Jersey band that I knew of at one point, because when we were first starting, they actually had a bit of a following, and I think I've even connected with that guy at some point. I don't know, but they changed their name though to the Nines US or something at the time, because you know, luckily I don't have, it's not like I have you know, a band like Coldplay, or where I called my band Coldplay and then Coldplay came out.
Yeah.
You know, the bands that are out there may have one or two things out there. We I think just through pure endurance, I think we've released something like, I want to say like, I don't even know, 13, 14 albums since we released our first thing. So we've been going for we or myself or different incarnations of the band have been going for the last 25 years, I guess now.
Yeah, right.
Close to it. 30 years.
Well, are you contemplating any live work in the future?
Yeah, we've talked, like one thing I would love to do is I'd love to do Japan. I'd love to go to Japan. I've been asked. I actually had we had a company who was going to finance a trip at the time to go to Japan, and then pandemic hit, and then we just kind of went. It was just going to be me. I would just do the kind of a small tour in some of the clubs in Japan, through a couple record labels that we've gone through have been able to kind of help us. Yeah, so I'd love to do that. So that is in the cards, and there's a few musicians who have done that, who are in the same kind of bucket of music I do. There's this, you know, so there's a few guys, you know, like Viola's done that. This other guy who I don't know if you've heard of them, but this guy Blue. I should send you his stuff if you haven't heard it, John. It's great stuff. And Leslie. But yeah, so a few of these other guys that have done this. So I think I'd like to do that. I think that'd be amazing country to go to. It'd be great for me to experience it and play.
Yeah, no kidding.
That'd be super
Love
cool.
to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is in the cards, because that has been discussed a few times, and I think I could do that now, whether it's just kind of more of a solo show, small kind of solo songwriter type of mini tour there. Or, you know, and I'd love to go back to the US and maybe play a few things on the East Coast. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to pull musicians together whenever we've had to do that. So hopefully do that too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I hope we get to see you play live again.
I
sometime soon.
know. That'd be
Yeah.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Same.
There's so much more we're going to have to talk about when we see you this summer. So
Yeah,
oh,
for
there
sure.
you are. Well, there's Steve live.
Yeah. That was a show we played in Hamilton as well. Like, I think it was at a festival. I can't even remember when it was. It was a few years ago. It wasn't that long ago though. So we've done it. There's another incarnation of the band. So these are all, and you know, like I said, I've been really fortunate to play with a lot of great Canadian musicians, play with you guys, but even within my own band, I've played with some amazing players, who I've just been very fortunate to have this kind of journey with. So it's been a good time.
Well, we definitely have to get together when we come out. We're going to be we're coming out this summer.
Yeah, I'd love to see you guys. We will definitely get together. Maybe we will write some songs.
There you go.
I know. That'd be so
Wouldn't that be fun?
I'm gonna have to dig out my answering machine, and so Steve can play the song.
Right.
Yeah. No, I want to hear. I want to hear Steve's. I want to hear Steve's tape of Andy Partridge saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, it's Andy Partridge," and then you got to put
oh,
that
yeah.
on a song.
I will. I still have it. I still have it. I have his demo too, which I don't share, but I would share it with you guys, and it's pretty amazing. He's another guy who can pretty much tinker around on any instrument too. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Great player.
It would just be fun to write a song with you, though.
Love to write a song with you guys. I mean, like I said, I've had wonderful shows with you guys, way back when. It was an amazing time. Love to write some music. So we'll definitely get that in the book. So if you're down here, but first we'll have a drink.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
A toast to just
Friends.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
Friends, musicians,
That's
lovers.
Right.
That's another story. That's a story. Well, that's on the later slide. That's the exciting story.
Yeah. He's just opening the door and looking in.
Yeah, this is just a sneak peek to the sordid world that we both inhabit together.
Yes, exactly. Well, I guess this is kind of getting long in the tooth.
Yes, but it's been awesome. Oh my God.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome as ever. This is just what it's like. We just blab the whole. Did you hear this song? That's why I started making tapes, is because the whole time we'd be together, we'd just be talking over top of the song. You'd never hear it anyway. So
I still have them. I brought out these tapes to my daughter the other day. I got a new cassette player here, and I put out Johnny. Was notorious for doing these mixtapes that I heard from everybody. Everybody I talked to is like, oh, Johnny, he put all these albums together. That's how like I said, it opened my door to a bunch of new indie music. So I thank you for that. I thank you guys also for a lot of help you guys gave us in the early days of Ninestem. So
well, it's a privilege and an honor to call you a friend, and
same.
It's nice to see you in the pixels, and hopefully see you in the flesh this summer.
Awesome.
And we're gonna do our little sign off here, but if you're not backstage after, we'll see you when we see you.
Yeah,
sounds good, guys.
We love you, Steve.
Love you guys too. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Wow, I was laughing so hard at the beginning. I was almost crying. It was so much fun.
That's good.
I love talking with Steve. He's
laughter.
Good. Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up.
He's talking about the pandemic. He's been saying he was reflective. Mm-hmm. I started out as reflective in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I became surly, and then I became drunk, and then I became depressed, and then I found myself.
There's definitely many emotions through the pandemic. I think
everybody, you know what, say it or not, people are gonna somewhere inside somehow be different about this. I
think so too. No, you couldn't be the same after going through something like this. But we want to thank Steve Eggers so much for coming on the show. It was amazing. We want to thank Field Fox Gardens and Cookery. Order that lasagna at fieldfox.ca and as well as sign up for the newsletter, right? And I'm going to promote a couple of other No YXE shows for you guys, because there's a lot of great shows on No YXE. First of all is YXE Sports Podcast, Mondays at 6 p.m. There's Let's Chat, Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Sportsline is Thursday at noon. Or no, 12:15. Am I remembering it right this time? Sportsline, Thursday at 12:15. Yes, I remembered it this time. And In Focus, YXE, Thursday at 7 p.m. That's a cool game show, you guys. And then Slow TV YXE for your chilled out. Oh, that's Sunday, 10 a.m. So if you're an artist and you have something coming up, be sure to email us at thegreenroomYXE@noYXE.com so we can have you on the show. So just have a great week and keep on rocking and rolling out
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Peace out.
Yeah. See you next Wednesday.